Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're going to talk about can Saraya save AEW's women's division. And we just seen Saraya debut on this past Dynamite at the time of the recording of this video. You may be watching again in the future. And she made quite an impact, got a hell of a pop. Didn't really do much but come out to the ring, came out to Zombified by Falling in Reverse, which is her boyfriend Ronnie Radke's song. So this is my video on what I think, how I think she can help, how I think she can improve the division. I've said it before. I made a video just a little bit ago about ways that you could fix AEW, and my top thing that I thought needed to be fixed, spoiler if you haven't watched that video, was I thought that the women's division needed an overhaul. And I'm not the only one that said it. I think the women's division in AEW is not being treated on a proper way to make us care about it. So this is my opinion on how I think she can help. First off, can she wrestle? Is she cleared? We know that the WWE was not going to let her wrestle. That doesn't mean that she's not cleared to wrestle. We've seen before they were extra cautious with Bryan Danielson, and I tend to be okay with that. I'd rather them err on the side of caution and not put out someone there that they think may have the potential to be injured than let somebody go out there and have a life-changing injury. Right now, Paige is able to walk and talk on her own. If she were to break her neck in a significant way that makes her paralyzed, that would be absolutely terrible. And I just realized I called her Paige. I'm probably going to call her Paige 1,000 times in this video until I'm really used to calling her Saraya again. You're probably going to hear that come out of me. I still call Bryan Danielson Daniel Bryan every now and then. But anyway, I don't want to see her become crippled. So I don't want her to be forced into the ring. If she can wrestle, that's going to be a mega plus for AEW. If she can't, it's still going to be a huge plus because you've seen how the crowd reacted to her. The crowd loves her. Saraya is a star. She is someone that moves the dial. She is someone that people tune in to watch. Whether that be as a wrestler, whether that be something else, she's definitely going to help. And here's my ideas on ways she can help. First off, we can't talk about how she can help without talking about what she did in her previous employer in WWE. Let's rewind back to the Divas era. Saraya came in, first she was known as the Anti-Diva when she was in FCW, NXT, and she came in at a time where they were firmly entrenched in the getting lingerie models and turning them into wrestlers, getting fitness models, turning them into wrestlers. Not saying that some of them women didn't go on to have successful careers and didn't go on to be good wrestlers, but it was a different mindset and it was a different style. A lot of people talk about the WWE Womens Revolution and give a lot of credit to the four horsewomen, the Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. But the real credit to turning it around, the real credit for making the change, I believe leans on two people. Well, actually three, kind of. Paige, aka Saraya, AJ Lee, and Emma. Gotta remember, Emma back then was the main opponent for Paige. Without Emma being on those early Revolution cards, those early episodes of NXT, as her opponent, which is Emma's Tennille Dashwood if you're not familiar, you wouldn't see Paige in the light that you did. Paige became a star right off the bat. Her first night in WWE on the main roster, she wins a championship, and she wins it from AJ. Those two, and Emma to a degree, these were the real people that made that revolution come along. Now, I'm not saying it didn't get a jump start when Sasha and Bayley were doing their amazing matches in NXT, or Charlotte and Becky, or the four of them. I'm not saying that they didn't help elevate that even more, but the revolutionaries were that first generation that really made that change, that really brought wrestling for women into the main zeitgeist. And I'm just talking in WWE, because TNA was doing women's wrestling on a much grander scale with much better matches a decade before WWE made it a priority. Shimmer and Shine were putting on some of the best women's wrestling matches that anyone's ever seen a decade before WWE decided that they should elevate and give women a chance to show what they could do. It's a real shame that she never got to bear the fruits of being someone that would have been in a big main event at like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam, because she absolutely would have. She would have been right up there with Charlotte and Becky and Ronda, and she would have been a perfect match for a lot of them women. She laid that groundwork that the women's division in WWE is built on. Carry that over in the AEW. Right now, talent's not the issue in AEW. They got a ton of talented women. They need someone to change the perception of the division, and that could be Saraya. With her being there, just that star power demands people watch her. If they watch her, they're going to watch other wrestlers that are with her, whether in the ring or otherwise. We're going to talk about all that in a minute. They're going to tune in and they're going to learn about the other wrestlers on the roster, and then they're going to become fans of them, and then AEW can build and grow that division. Now, the first thing, obviously, optimally, I'm a huge Saraya fan. She is one of my favorite wrestlers of the last decade plus, since she's been in America. I didn't really see too much of her stuff when she was in England. I did see some of her early Shine and Shimmer stuff, but she really took off to me in FCW and NXT, where I seen a ton of her, and I've been a fan ever since. To me, I'd love to see her back in the ring if it's safe, and the main reason is for the dream matches. People that she hasn't wrestled before, like Britt Baker, Jade Cargill. I would love to see her and Jade Cargill. What she could do with Jade would help Jade get to that next level. The other dream matches that we were robbed of that haven't happened yet, like Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, some of these younger women that she didn't really get a chance to wrestle, Athena, and I know Athena and some of them have been wrestling for years, but we get some of those matches that you would love to see. You'd love to see a face Paige going up against Britt Baker, or against Jade Cargill, or Paige as a heel against Ruby Soho, or against Athena, or Toni Storm, or Thunder Rosa, or any of the talented women that are on that roster that are going to get elevated just by being in that same ring with her. That would be the optimal thing, in my opinion, is if she can wrestle, using her in that role to see these amazing dream matches. Much like we got with, like, say, a Bryan Danielson coming in, and seeing him going up against guys like Adam Page, guys like Daniel Garcia. You get to see new matches that are maybe dream matches for some. That would be the first thing I would like. I'd love that. Now, let's say she can't wrestle. She's deemed that it's too unsafe. There's a couple routes you could take. First one, she could be a manager. You got some women on the roster that are kind of in an area where they have no direction. They have immense amounts of talent, but they don't have a direction that they're going, or a place that they're going with their storylines. Two of the ones right off the top that I could think of is the Bunny. Even though she's involved with the Butcher and the Blade, I don't think that's necessarily the perfect fit for her. Break her off from them. And Ruby Soho. Ruby came in with a ton of fanfare, with a ton of hype, and it feels like it's totally fizzled out. Having Ruby there with Saraya as her manager, it may totally help that. Being as that they're very similar in style, Saraya could be the one that brings out the best in Ruby, that brings out that side of Ruby that everybody wants to cheer for. And everybody does love Ruby. I love Ruby Soho. I think that would be an awesome pairing to have them two together, have her as Ruby's mouthpiece, in my opinion. Or the Bunny. Help get the Bunny over. People forget that when the Bunny was in Impact as Allie, she was a main star on their show. She was very much one of the main reasons people tuned in. And she's a great wrestler, and she does some great character work. I'd just love to see her go back to that. Then you got the other women that she could possibly manage that are on coming up, and we're going to talk about a lot of them later here in a little bit. But girls like Jamie Hayter, Willow, different wrestlers that are younger that she can manage, all while kind of helping them out. Just my opinion on another way they could go with her that she would help immensely. Now, the third thing I think she would be able to help with is if they made her the on-screen authority figure. And I'm not just talking about over the women, although that would be a great idea. Have her be the on-screen commissioner, GM, whatever you want to call her, of the women's division. You have someone to set up matches, someone to lay the law down someone to stop the heels like Britt Baker and her crew from doing whatever they want on the show. A foil for the faces if you want to make her a heel character. She could be a foil for the faces like Toni Storm, putting obstacles in her way. All that could all be accomplished by putting her in that position. Also, you're going to get to see her on TV. She's going to get to talk. The fans are going to get to see what they want to see. It's just another way that they could use her. They could beef up the division, make it a little bit better. And last but not least, the way that she can improve the AEW Women's Division most is going to be behind the scenes. AEW has some talented women on the front lines right now. The Britt Bakers, Ruby Soho, Athena, Jade Cargill, all fantastic. Jamie Hayter. There's a lot of really great women wrestlers there. They also have a lot of younger talent there. And this is where Saraya can help the most. Her experience, her skill level, being someone that grew up in the professional wrestling business and knows probably more than most of the women on the roster, she can help by being a coach or a mentor to some of these younger women. Women like Willow Nightingale, Anna Jay, Julia Hart. They all could sit at that learning tree and get some of the knowledge that Paige has, or again, I'm going to call her it a million times, Saraya has. They could get some of that knowledge from her and advance their career. It would be absolutely silly to not use her in that role, to not have her mentor some of these younger women that have potential, but just don't know what to do with the potential just yet. In my opinion, I think it would be the biggest way she could help. With all that, can Saraya save AEW Women's Division? If they let her, yes. If they keep treating the Women's Division the way they have before she got there, you could literally reincarnate the best versions of Trish Stratus, Gail Kim, whoever you want to consider one of the great women wrestlers of all time, Mae Young if you want to put her in there. You can get the best versions of all those, Alundra Blaze, whoever you want to consider the great women's wrestlers of all time. If they're going to keep booking the division the way they have, you could have all of them women there, and it would not help. The biggest way, other than training, that she could probably help is if she could get into Tony Khan's ear and help convince him to book the division as a whole better. That would be the way that she could save the division. Time will tell if she does. I mean, maybe if I go look at this video in a year, I might look at myself and go, you're a fool, you're an idiot for thinking that there was a way to save this. Or I could say, Saraya showing up was a turning point, and it's what saved their women's division. Let me know what you think. Hit me up down here in the comments. Subscribe, share the video, like the video, all of that good stuff. And if you made it to the end, let's put change in the comments, because hopefully she's an agent of change. With all that said, it's time to turn that page. You get the pun. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.